All right, here we go with part 2 of our ancient Greece notes, and today we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite, Greek mythology. Greek mythology. So here we go. Mythology is the study of myths, which are stories about supernatural beings in early times handed down orally from one generation to another. Okay, remember, was the religion of the Greek people. Okay, they didn't have any books like the Hebrews had the Torah, the Christians have the Bible. Their stories were handed down by generation, usually orally, through people telling stories to their kids, grandkids, etc. Myths were used to explain nature, seasons, heavens, geography, man, and gods. And it shows how the people, the Greeks of the ancient world, or shows how ancient people viewed their world. Okay, so the gods that they created, or the gods they believed in, would explain different things such as nature, geography, the heavens. Why is it dark? Why is it light? What does the sun represent? The moon? Why is it rainy? Why is it cold? Things like that. Where did we come from? What do our victories mean? What are our defeats? Okay, why are we rewarded? Why are we punished? Why do people die? Etc. Okay, so they try to use these things to explain the world around them. Okay, because they didn't have scientific methods to explain things or theories, so they used the idea that these gods were the reason for what was happening in their lives at the time. Importance of mythology: it's a form of entertainment, especially in our culture, Western culture in the United States and different parts of Europe. Mythology is a source of entertainment. Okay, but back then in ancient Greece, this is what they believed in. Okay, but nowadays it's popular movies, books, video games, stories, literature, music, etc. Okay, we get a lot of words from Greek mythology. So it's a big part of our culture today, even though it's obviously at one point in time was a way of life for the ancient Greeks. Alright. Characteristics of Greek gods. Let me go back here to this slide. Human qualities. They in appearance, emotions, and problems. So they look like regular people. Okay, but obviously they were supernatural with incredible powers, but they were just like you and I. Okay, they got upset, they got angry, they were happy, they were jealous, and again, they explain life events, birth, death, victory, etc. A deity is a god. D-E-I-T-Y. That's how that's pronounced. That is another word for a god. The word pantheon means all gods. The prefix pan means all. Theos means gods. Alright, so pantheon, deity, if you hear those or see those words in our discussions, videos, anything that you read here coming up. Mount Olympus was the home of the Greek gods, and here are a couple different interpretations of what Mount Olympus looks like. Okay. Speaking of gods and goddesses, here we go. Zeus was the king of the gods. He was the ruler of Mount Olympus. You can see different interpretations there. Hera was the queen of gods, so that would make her Zeus's wife. And she was also the goddess of marriage. Athena was the goddess of wisdom and war strategy. So not only was she very smart, but she was also very cunning when it came to planning. Obviously, if you wanted to be successful in war or battle, she was one of the goddesses that you would pray to. Here we have Artemis. She was the goddess of the hunt and the moon. And in these two pictures here, you can see her interacting with an animal, but you also have the moon in the background. Okay. And then lastly, Apollo was the god of the sun, one of Zeus's children. So these are the only 5 gods and goddesses that you have to know. So please make sure you know them. Most people get confused on the goddesses Hera, Athena, and Artemis. Make sure you know the differences between them, what they symbolize and what they represent in Greek mythology. Here are some others, and again, there's many that you may have heard of in readings, movies, etc. Aphrodite, Hermes, Hades, Poseidon, Hephaestus, Ares, the god of war. Here's kind of the family tree that the Greeks used to kind of explain things. Okay, Uranus, or Uranus, Gaia. Okay, that's the god of Earth. All right, and you can see here how they kind of break down from there. Zeus. Okay, this is a list of his children. Some were god, some were demigods, and a demigod is half human, half god, like Hercules. Okay, Hercules' mother was a human, Zeus was a god, and so you could say Hercules was mixed, if you want. All right, Greek religion was polytheistic. It explains natural phenomena like natural disasters, flooding, earthquakes, human qualities, and life events. Stories of the gods and their interactions with humans are called myths. All right, there is no sacred text, so they don't have a book explaining the powers and the supernatural abilities of these Greek gods and gods. They were handed down orally from generation to generation. The gods acted like humans and had human vices. So even though they were powerful, they were just like us in many ways. They looked like us. They acted like us. They just could really, they just had some awesome powers. They would interact with humans. Okay, sometimes you'll see in movies that Zeus tells the other gods and goddesses, do not interact with them. Let the humans live their lives, and if they live, die, etc. But according to Greeks, they did interact. Many of Western civilization's symbols, metaphors, words, and idealized images come from ancient Greek mythology. Okay, so this is up here. You see a few recognizable products, names, images. Tennessee Titans, Thor, Hercules, Midas, Kratos from the video game, Olympus, Ajax, Nike. These are all words or terms that originated from Greek culture, Greek mythology. And again, we don't realize that, again, they are a big part of our everyday life or pop culture. And then lastly, we have Greek art. First off, for literature, okay, an epic is a long poem. All right, and we talked about, Gilgamesh was an epic, it was a long poem. And a hero in mythology and legend, a person who often with a god for a parent, who has great courage and strength, celebrated for their bold exploits and favored by the gods. Sometimes he will have great flaws, which lead them to being killed, etc. Okay, so heroes are favored by the gods, like Hercules was a hero. Okay, he had great strength and he accomplished and tested himself in different ways against different beasts and challenges, etc. Greek art glorified human beings and stressed harmony, balance, order, and moderation. Okay, so you can see here in this sculpture here, the human form is very much in emphasis, and we'll talk a little bit more about Greek art later. All right, so and a couple other things. Greek culture is also known as Hellenic, and we're going to talk about this later a little bit more. And the other one, Greek-like culture, which was spread by Alexander the Great. When we get to Alexander, is Hellenistic. So just kind of putting those two out there now. All right, so if you have any questions, as always, kind of jot them down in the margins if you have an open spot. And then also make sure you get your summary. Your summary is required for receiving credits for these notes. So finish those things up, and I will see you guys in the next class.